All right, I think we're ready to go. Thanks, Mikhail. Low key IT is Mikhail.
All right, calling to order the Police Community Advisory Board for July 2nd, 2025. First item of business is roll call. So Melinda,
Present.
River,
Present.
I should be saying last names, Rachel Paul, I am here. Marty Malloy. Present. Chris Wigenstein. Chief Slowick,
Present?
and Meg Massey.
Present.
That's right. I'm writing that down. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the agenda as well as the meeting minutes of May 7th.
I second that.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. So our fourth item is public comment. During this time, citizens may comment on subjects of interest not on the agenda or agenda items. Do we have any public comments for today? No? Okay. All right, we're moving on to item 5, items for discussion. I'm going to turn that over to Chief Slowick.
Okay. Well, hello, Chairperson and our Police Community Advisory Board. I am really happy to be here with you. I know that we're now into this every other month schedule, and hopefully that works well with your guys' schedule, and I think it's working well for us. Some items of discussion that I just wanted to bring up. The first one is on June 11th, the mayor hosted a community forum, and that was for the Pathways to Stability Task Force. I sat on that panel with Commissioner Johnson, Mayor Wright, and then the director of Spin Cafe was on there as well. And we facilitated or received questions from the community. They could have been submitted electronically prior to the meeting, or people who were present submitted questions, and then really just talked about a host of concerns that might be going on in the community. A lot of it was about services that we currently have or don't have. What are the limitations on our resources that we have? And, what are some responses for law enforcement, or where are we headed as we try to make sure that we can enhance or provide good public safety to our communities? So that is a recorded meeting. It's an audio recorded meeting. If you haven't had the opportunity to listen to it, I think it is a good listen. And if there are any questions from that forum that anybody has, please let me know. We did let everybody know that we do have a Police Community Advisory Board, and somebody may reach out, or you guys might have contact throughout your daily lives or whatever that might be. So are there any questions about the community forum?
Where would we find the recorded audio so we could listen
Certainly.
to it?
Yeah, so it'll be on the city's website, and I believe if you scroll down on the homepage, there are links there, or there's actually the city's calendar. You probably could roll back on the city's calendar to June 11th and find the event there. But I also believe Maggie, our communication director, has posted like news buttons that you can press and then get that recording. Yeah. For some reason you can't get it, email myself or Meg, and we will get it to you. Okay.
Chief, I have a couple of questions. One, did you feel like it was well attended? And two, was the purpose just to have the conversation, or was there some kind of some expectation out of the meeting?
No, the purpose, one, I thought it was adequately attended. I think you always could have better attended events. It was I think it was on a Wednesday is what it was, and in the afternoon. So I think people have lives and schedules and all of those things. So I think there's always going to be a challenge with that. I think the purpose of it was to be transparent and available to the community regarding these topics that are concerns. And I was very grateful, and I know Mayor Wright was very grateful that Commissioner Johnson participated. She has been in this position and really carrying a lion's share of the load as an elected leader in our community for many, many years on this topic of homelessness, mental health, these type of services that are very scarce in our community. And she has a very wide depth of knowledge on the topics, and really understands what are some of the challenges on why we can't move forward in things. I think the other part of this was to be informative with the community on, saying, hey, we've looked at different options, and one of them that keeps coming up is like transitional housing. In Burlington or Skagit County, there's a pallet shelter community. It's 43 units, I believe, is what it is. It's run by a nonprofit. To build that out, I believe Island County and City of Oak Harbor could pool the funds, could get grants, could build out that thing. I think we could figure out what property it needs to be on. I think it could be very beneficial to our community. However, we know in Burlington, it costs $1 million to operate that every year. So that's the hang up. It's not the building of something. It's who do you get to operate it? Who is the reliable entity that is most likely a nonprofit? The funds can't be coming from everyone's general fund, because we have the duty to provide streets and water and utilities and public safety response. So right now there's no reoccurring revenue in Island County budget or the City of Oak Harbor's budget for a project like that. Neither entity wants to be the owner of that project to keep running it, operating it. Like, we're not hiring staff. And so that's the challenge. Who's that nonprofit, or who's that entity that could run it? And I think there's a solution out there. The thing is, it's not one of us is figuring it out. We have to figure it out together, and we have to figure out within the community's involvement. I think that's the other part. Where I was going to say something else about that. I think the other piece is that I think that operational piece is just very, very key. I think the other I know where I was going to go. The other part is federal funding and limitations that may or may not be there, and barriers that get placed by either, for example, often a lot of our federal funds come in through the state of Washington to the Department of Commerce. Those federal funds then can be restricted on how they're used at a state decision versus what the federal's application is. So a federal application can be made broader, and then the state can come in and say, oh, no, we're going to restrict it. We're going to only provide it to certain groups or certain, we want it to care for certain fields of care or whatever that is. So I think that's the other challenge that we have as well. And everyone's competing for the same dollars, and now those dollars are shrinking down. And so I think it's always a challenge. I know what I was going to say is, lastly, when we talk about operating costs, a perfect example is the city of Linwood just built a beautiful public safety campus. Public safety campus includes courtrooms. It includes a police department, an EOS emergency operations center. It includes a jail. It includes a outpatient medical facility that can do mental health beds and can also do medical care, meaning addictions like Suboxone and methadone, those type of things. This was built with federal money, with state money, with city money, and for $60 million. So large project to build, with a provider that was on board at the beginning to say, this is the services that we need. They get to the commissioning of the facility and the provider says, oh, we don't have the resources, we don't have the staff, the medical staff, we don't have the doctors, we can't provide this service anymore, and they pulled out. So now, I mean, and they're in the middle of the city, like the big city, right? Linwood and Snohomish and King County, where all of those providers should be at, because there's population density is very high. And what we're finding is we're a rural area, we have even less resources and services. And we have to be honest with ourselves, you know, when we're, you know, planning things or promising stuff to the community. So that's where that is. Yeah.
So I really encourage you to listen to the audio, to watch this. I learned a lot, and I thought part of what was so valuable about it was having leaders from the city and the county on the stage at the same time. So some of the education about health insurance and medical providers that Commissioner Johnson provided at the forum, I thought was really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's an accountability piece. I mean, the other struggle that was the information provided by Commissioner Johnson is that the regional health authority that we have set up, we've set up a system for a regional health authority in the state. Our regional health authority is out of Snohomish. It covers like 6 counties, and they're the ones that hold healthcare providers accountable to their contracts. It's not the local jurisdictions. It's not the users. It's that healthcare authority. And if that healthcare authority isn't requiring healthcare providers to meet the letter of the, you know, the actual verbiage in the contract, and it's more of the spirit of the law versus the letter of the law, then that's a problem for all of us. And we, from what Commissioner Johnson has said, is that there are providers who will take 1 or 2 patients in a jurisdiction and then say we're not taking any more patients, but still be able to collect 100% of the money that they agreed to collect. And that's not the way it should be. So there's a lot of political change that and pressure needs to be on that legislative change there. And you know, I think we have some representatives in our community who are aware of that and understand that there needs to be that change. So
I have a few questions. One, do you know if there'll be another meeting regarding the same topic? And if so, do you know when it is?
So we haven't set a date for the next meeting. I know that the Pathways to Stability Task Force, which I'm on, and also is Chairperson Paul there. That's an open meeting, so we do advertise when that occurs. Another community meeting will definitely occur in our community at some point. I would guess maybe later in the fall, or I would assume the mayor would want to do something like that. But again, he is doing his Right Blend community, like monthly community engagement and all of those things. So he's putting himself out there a lot to really get that input and talk to the community. So I really encourage people to attend those as well.
Okay, perfect. And then lastly, is there anything that we as a board can do to help with ideas for the pallet housing, or maybe
Yeah.
grant research or something that?
I think that's a perfect transition to my next thing. So let me first ask, is there anybody else that has questions about the community forum?
I thought the open forum was excellent, and when Jill Johnson said this, it really rang true, because she was a little, you know, she has her way of speaking, and she was very forceful when she said, we've heard it said that our community didn't used to have this problem. And of course, I guess she grew up here. And then she turns and she says, this is not the way it used to, we are not living in the way it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was that situational awareness where she was stating, as somebody who was raised here, used to walk anywhere safely, practically any time, and to now where it's always, there's a question mark because of the homeless people and the drug addicts and all the rest. So basically what I would say for this is that the community outreach piece that we're doing is, and law enforcement service agencies are doing the very best they can, but just as a matter for the record, is that until the time comes, I know it's taken decades for the situation to become this way across all the western United States, practically the entire country, is that it's going to take decades to root out the root causes so that we don't have this recurring problem. Because this doesn't, I mean, for people who've lived in this town, they know that it's possible to live, you know, and not be overrun by this kind of condition. But anyway, that's all I have. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, so the transition really is what can we do, right? What's the part that the CAB can do, or what's the engagement? And through this process of the mayor creating this Pathways to Stability Task Force has really allowed for increased engagement with the county on really their homeless housing plan. And what we learned is a lot of the 10 years worth of history that the Island County has put in the effort they've put into our homeless housing plan and services that are being provided. And we're in this period right now where actually Island County is required to renew or create a new 5-year homeless housing plan. And that each jurisdiction, so Island County, the city of Oak Harbor, city of Coupeville, city of Langley, has the opportunity of going out on their own or joining into the county's plan. And each jurisdiction has agreed to join into the Island County's plan, which I think is a good idea, because I think if we have one plan that we, the city council buys off on and the commissioners buy off on, and directors can see what the plan is and planning can see the plan, we're at least talking the same operational picture, and then we can look at seeing how can we best use resources. So I think that's the goal. I provided you a couple sheets. One of the sheets that I provided were the discussion questions. I think there are 4 of them that were provided at the first meeting of the homeless housing plan. I'm on that team, and Chairperson Paul has been invited to be on that team as well, and will be at the next meeting as well. And then there's representatives from Coupeville. Langley's been invited to be on it. There's representatives from like CADA, Opportunity Council, SPIN, Island County, different human services, housing, all of that type of stuff. So I just wanted to provide you guys the documentations that I had. My paper has a lot of scribbles on it that I took notes from the day, but really what the items were 4 discussion questions, and then the 5 objectives from the state of Washington. Those 5 objectives from the state of Washington are required to be objectives in each county's plan, but each county can add additional objectives if they wanted to. I think from my, what I would love to have is if you guys, through your engagement with people in the community, were able to provide some of this information on what are some of the main reasons individuals become homeless in our community. What do people think that is? Like trying to gather that information. That's great. The more information that we get that can be brought back to this group, I think is awesome. I think that's what the intent of it is. And it allows for the group to make recommendations to the councils and the commissioners on what that development of that plan would look like. And so that's why I provided it to you. I don't necessarily think it needs to be a topic of discussion right now of us going through each question. I think, I'm happy to meet individually if you guys would like to set up a meeting and have that conversation. I think that would be great. Again, if you want to socialize that with people on your in the community and gather some information for this team, that would be excellent too. I think that's really the goal is for us to get more engagement, especially on this North Whidbey side, because a lot of the population is on the North Whidbey side. A lot of the services, minus the hospital, is on the is north of Coupeville and Oak Harbor, and so the more input we can get, I think the better information we'll have to make good decisions. Secondly, the other document I provided was the Department of Commerce's guidelines for that 5-year homeless housing plan. And I just wanted you guys to have that as that material. And so you understood what was, what were we all going by, this group's going by with those guidelines. So, and then these same items are going to be talked about with the Pathways to Stability Task Force as the mayor has committed that group to also be sort of a voice for our Oak Harbor area as we gather information. So I know the group will be putting out surveys and community forums. That group will be at different times, so I'll make sure that we pass that information along as well. Okay? I'm happy to take any questions. Yes, sir.
I was looking through this, and with your experience, chief or deputy chief, of this guidance, which general topics or requirements do you think are just tougher for us than the others, or the toughest, if you have any, and if you don't have any idea on that, that's fine too.
I think at the end of the day, if you don't have housing available, transitional housing available, subsidized housing available, supportive housing available, low-income housing available, and if you don't have any of those things, well, it's a housing problem for why people can't get into housing. So I think there are factors that go into that, meaning addictions, mental health needs. There are barriers that people have to get into services. But separating the people with barriers and the people who are, just needing housing or living paycheck to paycheck or 1 or 2 months behind on their rent and could potentially be evicted are things that could I think those are the immediate things you look at and see, can you address? And I think those are, I want to say they're easy, but I think those are the things that could be the biggest bang for your buck, and when you're dedicating resources, and then from there you start looking at, okay, what are your higher needs requirements? So if what you need right now is low income housing because the mean for what people are making is 20 or 30% below what the lowest rent is, then you have to have a program set up to provide that. However, if the barrier is you can't have pets or roommates, then that's a problem, because that's nobody that has any addiction or behavioral health needs. That's just somebody who's living their life and maybe has a pet or maybe needs to have a roommate to live in a residence because it needs to be multiple income situation. And those are problems that we currently have in our community. We're not even talking about other needs, but we have a group of people that have that problem right there. So that's just one example. I think the more complicated you get are low barrier or housing residents that have assisted living or have substance abuse counselors or on-site support. I think they call it support living housing or whatever it is. But there's that level of care. Well, that's a much higher need and a higher cost, because now you have to find who is the right person to be trained to be there. Does it need to be a licensed individual? Can it be somebody else? Those places probably have to be staffed 24 hours a day. That's a much higher challenge than just the one where we don't make enough money and we might need roommates, but those are all barriers to HUD. Like HUD doesn't allow that. Or what other, I was told the state of Washington has a service for housing, and they've got restrictions on those things. So how do you come up with those solutions? Is it a law change for the state? Is it the city and county changing ordinances? I don't know. I think those are all things that have to be looked at. And then I think you really scale that up to be like, okay, where are we really at? What is the need? Right now, it's estimated that, like when they did when Island County Human Services did the day and point count, I think it is what it's called, where they go in one day, they go try to identify how many people are homeless in our island, would-be island, Camino Island communities. The number was 73. That number went down 2 people from last year, is what I was told. However, they know that number isn't the real number. That's so they go into a projection. That projected number is 240. Is what they project in Whidbey Island and Camino Island, that there are 240 people that are unhoused. Well, of those 240, how many people could just get into low income or transition? You know, if you had a transitional facility, could you get them into that facility, and then that starts them on a pathway of stability and, you know, being able to shower every day, be able to meet with your counselor, knowing that this is the place where your medication can be dropped off, or other services can be checked in with, you know, not feeling that you are going through this day shelter. 12 hours later, I have to pack all my belongings up and move to another location as a night shelter where I have to pack all my stuff up, or I've got a dog, so I can't go to the night shelter and I have to live in the streets or the car or somebody's breezeway of a business. So there's all of the, I mean, it's a whole different thing, but
Thank you for your insights.
yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry, I probably went on a tangent there.
Appreciate it, though.
Yeah. Any other questions about that?
Chief, I was just watching recently in Seattle, there's some talk about rent-fixing software, and that it's affecting the cost of housing so tremendously that they've actually started if I'm not familiar, they have someone kind of going to bat for the people in Seattle right now, looking at the cost of rentals and how they've increased dramatically. Some of them have gone up into 20 percentile,
Yeah.
I believe, just over the last couple of calendar years. I couldn't afford to pay a 20% larger mortgage as a retired person. I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Do we have anybody in town here that looks at rentals, that looks at the costing? Some of these people are homeless because it got too expensive for them to stay housed. And some of these algorithms that were suspect that I was reading about last week from Seattle, they're making them go away. They found that that's considered price fixing, if I'm not mistaken. The algorithm is illegal. Do we know that the rental agencies or rental companies use that kind of software? And would we be able to find out if we're becoming a little Seattle and we're pricing people right out of their places?
So I could only imagine that if you're a property manager, you're using some type of software to manage your properties. I don't know if it has any type of algorithm piece to it. That would be really difficult for us to figure out. However, Island County they do have staff that works with property managers. They have vouchers for housing. They run and do the low-income housing. They're the ones that make the projections on all of those things. So they have staff for that. In the last meeting that I had, that was one of the topics of conversation. Now, our state legislatures just enacted, and I think it went into effect today, or yesterday. Yesterday was the first, that property owners can only now raise up to 7% a year, plus or minus COLA. So it could be a potential 10. Most is 10%, but there is a cap now, so somebody couldn't get a 20% raise. But I'll be honest, I don't think I could afford a 7% every year raise in my rent, and I think a lot of it is supply and demand. So we don't have a lot of available rental units in Oak Harbor because there's not a lot of supply in Oak Harbor. A lot of that changes that, over the years, the Navy used to keep all of their single sailors on base in housing. They don't do that anymore, in barracks and stuff like that. And they're now pushed out into the economy. But if the economy doesn't grow, or the apartment complexes don't grow, that forces everybody else out. The city doesn't allow new trailer parks. Because there are some health and fire hazards with trailer parks. And so they want to go to high-density housing, apartment complexes, right? And there's a cost to that. So it's a lot easier to bring in a trailer and fix that to utilities and water, that process, than it is to build a 40-unit complex, and the costs that go into sprinkler systems and fire protection and alarm and monitoring and all of those other things that, and the development of the area and stuff like that. So I know that's something the county is reconsidering on the county side, out in the county having trailer park, additional trailer parks and different options like that. But it's a much bigger picture than the cab, and it's definitely something that our city council talks about often. I know the commissioners talk about housing often. I know we're doing a comprehensive plan for what that housing looks like, and I think there has to be continued change within our state government or legislatures as well for laws and rules that govern that.
So I just want to add one thing to that, and that's that you can establish regulations, the regulations that went into effect yesterday in the city of Seattle, and people adapt to that, including landlords. And landlords are already adapting to that by doing things like raising parking fees and, right? I mean, you limit rent, but there are other things that you can do so I just think we have to be careful in thinking that regulation will necessarily take care of the entire problem, yeah.
Okay, any other questions?
How would we go about setting up a meeting to talk with you regarding that specific, like the homeless ideas? As somebody who lives in low-income housing, I have a ton of friends and community members I've already spoken to that are like in post-eviction or like pre-eviction now.
Yeah.
So how would we go set up a meeting to talk about it?
You have my email. You can email me. You can email Meg or call. She has access to my calendar, and we'll get you scheduled for available time.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll just, because I know it's a recorded meeting, if anybody in the community has concerns, honestly, Island County Housing is the one that manages all of that low-income housing in our county. Would be Island and Camano Island. They're really the good resource for a lot of those conversations and all of that type of stuff as well.
Including in town?
Yeah, including in town. Now, so for example, Island County is building 2 new apartment complexes. Both are low income. Both are getting turned over to Opportunity Council to manage and run. And the county bought the land. They helped with some grants. Opportunity Council is going to run and then staff and get the people in them. And, they're a trusted nonprofit partner in our community and other communities to provide those services. So. Any other questions? Okay, moving right along. I do want to say I handed out a couple flyers. First is that that's funny, we don't even have the date on this. Oh, it is right there, August 5th. I don't know why I couldn't see it. So August 5th is our National Night Out for 2025. It's a Tuesday. It's the first Tuesday in August. It's from 4 to 7. Cab members are all invited. Please, I believe we've handed out shirts. If you need another shirt, let us know. We'll get you one. Please wear your name tag. Be out and about for that event. We really appreciate that. We're excited for that event as well. The other item, which is sooner, which is next week, next Tuesday, is that be hosting a business district meeting with the Pioneer Way Main Street Association and also the Southwest Business District. It'll be at the Oak Harbor Cinema, 9 o'clock on the 28th, and everyone's welcome to attend. Topics of discussion for that event are a potential new ordinance with the city, something that's going to be brought up at the August workshop, which is called a Stay Out of Designated Area or SODA area ordinance. And it's really looking at potentially trespassing people involved in drug activity from our core business district, so that as a tool to, hopefully they can get some help, and we offer services and those things. But on the flip side is removing people from some of that entertainment area, some of the places that we talked about of where do our kids walk and travel and go down to our beaches and our parks and And so being able to remove that, that is effective in other jurisdictions. Arlington and Monroe were two local ones. They've had ordinances. I think Monroe was 2018 and Arlington was like 2021. And our city prosecutor is also the prosecutor at those jurisdictions and is aware of, they've been upheld in court and how that can be impacted. So I'm going to talk at the business district meeting about that. I want to get some input from the business community and property owners, looking to hear if there's support for that. I don't have an opinion either way of this is what we have to do or don't have to do. It is just another tool that we could create an ordinance for and then apply it. As a response to the community's concerns for, you know, the people that are either on street corners that they feel are impaired or, you know, walking in traffic or using in public, those type of things. So, okay. Any questions about that?
Yes. What business area is it? Are you just talking about downtown, or are you talking about like where the cinema is and Spain
So the
Cafe
business,
too?
so the zone, if you could turn on your visual map here, the zone would be Rite Aid. If you started at Rite Aid and went Rite Aid to Walmart, all the way to the beach, and then Pioneer Way all the way down to Midway. So the end of Pioneer Way to Midway Boulevard.
Okay.
So it's like an L,
yeah.
right? And that's that we're calling that our like Southwest or South Business District would be the entire area. There are still grocery stores in our area that are outside of that zone. So if someone got trespassed from that zone, they could still use the other businesses outside of there. The law does permit for if there's a government building or specific buildings like Department of Licensing, DSHS, those type of things, people, even if they were trespassed, would have access to those buildings, but then they couldn't loiter after their activity was done, you know, so, yeah.
Chief, the soda idea sounds promising, at least from what you said. And I'll be out of town on this date. Are you going to record it like an audio or something?
It's not a recorded meeting, but it will be going to city council at the August workshop.
And bring similar types of information?
It'll be, actually probably more information.
Okay.
It'll be the full packet, ordinance, zone, mapping, all of the, everything. So
How-
it'll actually go for a public comment period. It'll be presented at that workshop and then have to be brought back one or two more times.
Yeah, that's outstanding because just progressive increase in the level of attention to the street level crooks and other people that are just disturbing, that there's a new sheriff in town type of idea. In other words, that things are being ramped up to take care of what has not necessarily been done in the past. And this soda program is different.
Yeah, we're just looking for new tools. I think that's the key. I don't think we're trying to punish anybody. We're truly looking for new tools. We really want to connect people to care. We understand that what the court system looks at for least restrictive means when dealing with the individual in custody, all of those things. And at the end of the day, if this is a tool that can help connect people for, voluntary mental health or addiction treatment or other services that are needed, great. That's what it is. At the same time, we all pay taxes. We pay taxes in property taxes. We pay taxes in sales taxes. And people should feel safe in our community. They shouldn't feel like they should feel like they could go to all parts of our community because our community is very safe. And the challenge is when that we don't have a tool where we can help steer people or move people along or whatever that might be, and people feel like they can't go to the cinema anymore or they can't go to one of our parks, or it's unsafe to walk from a residence and you walk 2 blocks to Walmart or something like that. So we don't want any of that to happen. We want to use whatever means possible that can provide that public safety. Yeah.
So I was going to save this for the end, but I just have a question about the legality of, sort of, you said that the prosecutor's office is already
Yes.
research this. Does it apply to, so would it apply to public lands? It would apply to public parks?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay.
So we would probably include the parks. We do have a ordinance of the ability to trespass people from the parks right now, which we've upheld. Drug use and other criminal activities is one piece that could trespass people from our parks. So we probably would fold this into that type of order or ordinance. The legality piece of it is a person must, when they are arrested, and then there's a conviction, this is where this can be applied for this order, or even an arrest where it could be applied if there's probable cause, where this order could go in place either through a court process or post-conviction. And the order is not something that we requested as the police department to our prosecutor, but a judge is the one that issues it. So now it's a court order. It's not a trespass warning type of thing, which we wouldn't have the ability to do from like public streets and things like that. So, yeah, so really it all goes through the court system. The judge looks at the facts, the argument of the public defender that represents or the attorney that represents the defendant has the ability to have a rebuttal argument, and so it goes through a court process.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for explaining that, because my question was going to be about how somebody gets trespassed, and then how, if I get trespassed for soda for someplace there, am I then not allowed to be in that whole L?
That's correct.
And how do other people know that I'm not allowed to be there?
So we would have, that order would get put into our records management system for the police department. If a police officer ran a name or anything like that, it would pop up as that order being in place. Yeah. Yeah. And the intent is to create these zones, and you're not trespassing everybody or removing people from the entire city. It's like, look, here's this zone. Now, there could be a limit of when this expires, the order expires. There could be potentially a judge could issue and say, all right, if you meet these 5 conditions, go through drug treatment, do daily or weekly urinalysis, and stay on your medication or whatever those things might be. There might be conditions of that, and it gets removed. Yeah. Okay. All right. Any other questions? All right. I'm going to move into D really quick. I'll come back to C in a second. But we're happy to announce that we have Citizen Academy dates. So we have both CAB members and city council members that have said that they want to participate. So right now we're reserving 6 dates. It's for people who haven't done it in the past. So 6 spots. I said 6 dates. Yeah, 6 seats is what we're looking at. The dates are September 18th is the first day. It's a Thursday, and it's for 6 weeks. It's the first 5 Thursdays, and then it's a Saturday, the 25th, and then there's a graduation on the 30th, which is a 7th day, but that's really not. That's a quick graduation thing. So. If you did every Thursday starting on September 18th, first 5 Thursdays into October, October 25th is a Saturday. That's when we'll do like mock scenes and things like that. And then graduation is Thursday, October 30th. Just one. We're running one. 25 people, I think, is what we're looking at having. 6 spots for board and council members. There is a QR code that is in the 4th of July newsletter. For that, we'll be putting out some information as well. If you want to do it, if anybody else wants to register, we'll make sure we send all that stuff to you. I see a couple hands. We'll look on graduation of inviting the past alumni people to graduation, so that maybe there's a tie-in for that, for everybody can be in the club. questions? No? Okay. All right. Okay, so, yeah, so we're excited about that. Back to staffing. Last night, Captain Barton was promoted to Deputy Chief Barton, so we're really excited about that. That's a tremendous thing for us and provides more leadership opportunities for other staff members. Those next leadership opportunities are 2 lieutenant positions that we have vacant, and we closed the list. We had a job opening for 3 weeks or so. We have 6 applicants that applied. 2 were internal, 4 were external. 5 of those applicants were referred on to the assessment center that we're having at the end of July and are being invited to that. So we're really excited about that opportunity. And then once that assessment center happens and interviews occur, I'll be able to make my selection on who those 2 people will be. So it's a big step for us. Having that middle management piece is going to be really good, and I think it provides more future opportunities for sergeants and future promotion as well. So that's a pretty cool thing. So, and I just have to say that is all of this change is from the strong support of Mayor Wright and also City Council. And so yeah, it's very nice to have this type of support, and I know our police officers feel it as well. We still have 6 police officer positions that are vacant. We have 2 people that are in our hiring process right now and have been offered conditional offers of employment. We'll know pretty soon if they are going to get a final offer of employment and then when they start. One is a lateral person, which means they've already gone to the police academy, so that has an immediate impact for us on getting through your first 3 months of training, and then you're on independent patrol. The other person is a brand new person that's never been in law enforcement before. So we're excited to possibly have those people onboarded. And then we've got 4 vacancies for entry-level people. So if either one of you guys want to be a police officer, please apply. It's an open application period. But we're always looking for great candidates. We get a reoccurring list that comes through our testing system. And we're just trying to find the best candidates to fill those jobs that are the right people for our community, because I think that balance and that connection is important as well. Okay. Any questions there?
Just a quick question. There was some thought that earlier on it was tough to get adequate qualified candidates. Do you see the pool of applicants improving as time is going forward?
I think that the pool is very thin. I think that there are still agencies still having a lot of turnover. We experienced that 2 years ago. I want to say it was like January of 2024, we were down to 19 commissioned officers. Right now, we're allowed 34 commissioned officers, so we were down to 19. I mean, that's a huge loss of experience. That's a huge a burden that is put on every other staff member to fill overtime shifts, and often all you can do is the basics and the minimum to just provide basic service. And we still did a lot of special events and a lot of outreach and all that stuff last year. So thankfully we are not in that situation anymore. We are, like I said, we've got 6 vacancies in our officer ranks, but all of our patrol squads have 4 officers on the patrol squads. We've stood up our community response team, which has 3 people in it. We have 3 detectives. So all of these things are great things for our community. But as we get more staff, we'll get some other dedicated things like a traffic position. We'll get somebody on our drug task force permanently. Things like that. Yeah. Okay. And the last part is cab vacancies. I do have 1 application that was referred to me that I need to do interviews with Chairperson Paul. That's how the city council set that up. So we'll just meet and I'll get a hold of that person and figure out what will work. I know you're going on vacation, so figure it out. Okay?
Sounds good.
Okay. And then I'm happy to field any questions or anything else you have, or that's all I have.
Let's go ahead and open it up for member comments.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So I have a few. Of course, the first is I really encourage people to go to one of those business district meetings. That I went to one in the spring, and it's a great opportunity just to listen to the community, right? Just kind of take in what business owners' concerns are. I want to congratulate again Captain Barton, but also congratulate you on the staffing successes. I have two questions. The first is, to be able to read it, can we have a working meeting that is not a public meeting without violating sunshine laws? I'm asking that because of Melinda's question about talking to people in your community that are struggling with housing. So if Melinda and I go out and talk to people and the two of us are together, are we in trouble?
You're not city council, you're not an elected official.
Right.
So there is no quorum problem, correct? Oh, is there?
Yeah.
They can't have a quorum. So the quorum's 3.
Okay, so two of us could go out at a time then, and that would be, okay. So I think that one of the things we might put on our future agenda item is maybe teaming up, right, to go out and talk to the community based on these questions, right? I think that would be a good sort of communication exercise.
So I'm also happy to, if we want to entertain like a Saturday coffee event or something like that, and advertise that as a official meeting where it's not an agenda, but it's just a interaction with the community. That could be a potential solution, and that doesn't limit anyone, but it's whoever wants to attend.
I think that sounds like
That
a
could be
great
a-
idea,
that could be
both
an
of
option.
those. Right.
Okay. I would say whiskey, but we don't have a whiskey bar in town.
That sounds awesome, actually.
Here.
So my second question is about recruitment. Is the city and is the police department really plugging your mission statement? I mean, I understand recruitment.
So
Has George Floyd really?
Well, okay, so
Right?
the challenge is this: is one, we have civil service rules. So our recruitment and hiring process is governed by our civil service rules and how that process goes. Both police and fire are civil service rules. Our civil service commission is very, they're great. They work with us and offer us a lot of different resources and opportunities. So I really appreciate them. But at the end of the day, we don't have staff, meaning human resources, to go out and do the things that you would do to create a list and put that together. Those things are a physical ability test, it's a writing test, those type of things, to score and then create a list of what you do. So we, both police and fire, contract that service out, and that's to a nationally recognized or Western states recognized entity, and then people pay to send their scores to different agencies. Some people pay to shotgun it to everybody. Some people pay for different different areas. Let's be honest, we are in an island community with limited housing, and if you have any special needs family members, there's not a lot of services for you here, and that is often very challenging. We currently have 4 officers that live outside of Island County and commute every day, the farthest being Upper Skagit River. So it's pretty far. It's over an hour commute each way, right? And so we're very happy that this person likes working with us and wants to be here. There are much closer agencies that they could be with, but that, hopefully we're providing the finance and the wellness and the support and teamwork, and our mission is what they want to do, and community is where they want to engage, and that's what keeps them here. So the challenge, what we're having is a couple things. One are a younger generation that don't have a lot of life experience. That's a big thing. Not a lot of people are going, like it used to be, you go into the military and then you go do 4 years or 5 years or whatever that might be, and then you come and be a police officer because now you're probably 23, 24 years old. You've got a little bit of life experience. You got to be at least 21 to carry a gun. So there's at least an age thing there. And now you understand what a paramilitary organization looks like, what is chain of command. You have some life skills. We're not seeing a lot of that anymore. That could be the George Floyd thing. That could be just the perception of what it is to be law enforcement. I think a lot of it is not about what the entity is, but what is the work we do and how is that supported. We have a very strongly supported police department in Oak Harbor. That is not the same way in Washington State. And actually, Washington State has gone to the other end, and this is legislatures, governors, and attorney generals to prosecute police officers, where local or county prosecutors aren't prosecuting police officers because they don't believe a crime's occurred. But the state's gone to other levels to try to do things. And law enforcement in Washington State is challenging because of that feeling of not being supported, the fear of losing protections, meaning when you go out and do the best you can do with the information you know at the time and the outcome ends up being a bad outcome just because life, like, things happen. There's a lot of moving variables. Well, if I can't be protected in good faith of doing my job and that gets stripped from me, I think a lot of people will also leave this profession. I think the younger generation has been brought up with this social worker mind versus being more law enforcement minded. It's good and bad, but not everybody can be your friend and your buddy, and there's accountability piece in our job. We're not social workers, but we get a lot of that put on us because there's not enough social workers. There's not enough people to do those missions, so that falls on us. And I think there's a plethora of things. I think across the board, everyone is struggling to find really qualified candidates, and thankfully, we're not in a position where we were a year ago, where we were bare bones staffing, and so we can be a little more discretionary on making sure that the person's the right fit for us, and we're the right fit for that person, and you're good, And then at the end of the day, people transfer jobs. I mean, how many of you have had multiple jobs in your life? And think of it this way: you enter one profession, but you move from business, corporation to corporation. If you were a computer programmer, it would not be uncommon if you went to work for Nintendo, and then you went to work for Microsoft, and then you went to work for Cisco or whatever that might be. And that's not an uncommon thing. The same things in law enforcement. Somebody might choose to go to one agency to learn their basic skill sets, but then they go and they see this other agency offers more opportunities, so they want to transfer there, and those things happen as well. And up until recently, we didn't have a lot of other opportunities besides patrol officer and sergeant, and then maybe one or two command staff people. So, we're trying to build in those other opportunities to make it more enjoyable and keep people, moving around. And I'll just add one other thing is we're trying to buy a public safety training facility that it would be a huge benefit for our region and our department, and city council and the mayor have been extremely supportive of that. So, and honestly, the community, I've heard positive things from the community as well. So I think that's another big piece of how do we offer different systems and opportunities for people.
As a relative newbie in the city, and but hearing the past stories, I find your comments, at least these most recent comments here, to be refreshing, because it's kind of like a break in the clouds, and they're starting to part, and the sun is starting to shine down on police work again, and I think it's going to be great for Oak Harbor going forward.
Thank you.
You do enjoy, and I'm glad that we do, the support of our community. And
Very much so.
thank you once again. And please, from this body, I don't speak for this body, I assist in speaking for this body. Tell your officers once again how much we really appreciate them. there was one particular organization that jumps out in mind here that is very, very supportive of our officers. And I believe that it throws a first responders dinner each year.
It does.
Chief Slowick, I'd like to invite you and all of your officers and all the persons in attendance here and their families to the first responders dinner, which is going to be held at the Oak Harbor Elks Lodge on September 19th. And that begins approximately 5 p.m. It's free dinner, free opportunity for us to thank our first responders. So I'm going to guilt Sheriff Felici as soon as I see him. I'm going to guilt him into sending as many sheriffs and representatives as he can. And of course, I'm going to guilt you, Chief Slowick, please, into sending as many officers and yourself to that free dinner for them and their families. Again, it's September 19th, and we begin at 5 p.m.
Oh, thank you.
You're gonna get it out electronically?
We're not going to get it out electronically. I don't believe we just keep handing. I go to police agencies and I hand them out a thing every year.
There's a roster. We fill out a roster and send it in.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Elks Club. Yeah.
Any other comments? Okay, determination of future agenda items. I think the coffee, maybe going out as partners, right? And yeah, I think we'd like
Yeah,
to talk
I know
more
one
about that.
item that I'm going to ask this group to help with a little bit is we are in need of a new police department. And this is a long range plan, and there's going to be a lot of community engagement. There's going to be a lot of helping with looking at different needs. So we'll bring future information back to this group, but I know that is one item that we're really going to look at. I do think that I think we have done a tour of the police department sometime with this group, but I think it is good probably to do another one. We've done some refreshing a few spaces because we are literally sitting on top of each other and different, like we're just very condensed over there. So it'd probably be good to show everybody where we're at. And if the public safety training facility is completed at our next meeting, I think we would add that to probably doing a tour of going up there to check that out as well. So, because I think our next meeting is not until September. Yeah. Okay.
That's correct. That
All
sounds
right.
good. Anything else? No? Okay, motions for adjournment? So moved.
I second, Madam Chair.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, motion carries.